if we look a little scruffy, it's because we've been watering and been outside, mowing and all kinds of rubbish for the last 5 hours at 100 degree heat. For old people like us, that's an ordeal, isn't it, Tammy?
Yep.
Anyway.
Pulling some stuff we put in the trailer too. So.
Yes. All right. So this is a video about puppy sales. I've had a lot of people asking me, "Are puppy sales down? What's going on with puppy sales?" And so I want to have a kind of a dissertation with Tammy and I talking about what's going on with puppies generally. What's the market like? Is the market up or down? Will it change? Why has it happened? What can you do about it? So, Tammy, do you remember when Cabbage Patch dolls were around?
Yes.
Did any of your kids at that time have Cabbage Patch dolls?
Yes.
Couldn't hardly buy one, could you?
Nope.
I mean, you saw things at Walmart where people were beating each other.
Had to fight the crowd.
They were pulling heads off Cabbage Patch dolls.
I was the one on top.
Smacking people in the mouth to get a stupid Cabbage Patch doll. You know, it's Christmas time. Look, the same thing with Tickle Me Elmo.
I had connections, so I didn't have to do all that mess.
Yeah, but Tickle Me Elmo, same thing, right? You know, you got these perfect storms, Christmas time, you don't have a lot of supply, you got a huge demand. It's not enough to go around, and every single Cabbage Patch or Tickle Me Elmo
Okay,
that was...
so,
right.
You know, same with the puppies during COVID.
Well, let's talk about that. So let's talk about what's happened here. I think we've got a slightly different situation, but it is the same effect. And the start of this whole thing was COVID. So what happened was, you know, people got shut down, stuck in their houses, and they were longing for some companionship they couldn't get because they couldn't get out. And those people who ever thought about having a puppy but didn't have one, that was the time to buy one.
Yeah, perfect time to potty train and get a puppy in the house and
get some emotional relief from not being able to see your friends. And then add to that, a stimulus check showed up in the mail for $2,500. Tammy spent ours.
Get it.
Tammy spent ours. I never saw it.
James got it.
I bought a puppy with it.
Didn't let me know.
I bought a puppy with it. Anyway, this was the beginning of this. So I can tell you that back then, beginning of COVID, we have a couple of litters a year. Excuse me, a year. Man, they just. I mean, normally, you know, our puppies don't sell. Maybe a puppy might sell right at birth, and then it's another couple of weeks, and 4 or 5 weeks we've got, you know, lots.
I had a couple of puppies that sold at 2 days old. You know,
and we don't take pre-orders, but the moment we put videos up there, bam, they just went. They just went.
All day long, my phone was ringing.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it was wonderful in terms of, you know, people like us who at that point had puppies. But people who were looking for puppies, they were limited on what they could get. And then to compound to that, it got to be hard to transport puppies because of the airline situation too. So that made it a bit harder as well. And then also the shelters, a lot of them shut down, and they got their dogs out of shelters into foster homes. And those people then decided they were going to keep the dogs. So you all of a sudden had a lot more puppies and dogs in households than were normally there. So then what happened? Well, some of those people, their income streams got damaged severely by COVID and being laid off and so on and so forth. And doing virtual work from home, so meant they could be home all the time. So what do they think? Hey, what a great time to have that litter of puppies. So those puppies that they bought a year into COVID, all of a sudden started to have their own puppies about a year and a half later. So now you're in this situation since about, what do you think, Tammy? Halfway through last year, October, something like that?
For what?
For the puppies' sales going to the toilet. It's probably been 9 months, or whatever. I mean, you all know what's going on here for those of you suffering.
6 months. Okay,
for 6 months. So what's been going on here for the last, for the 6 months is that there's been a lot of puppies out there for sale. And so you've got a lot of supply and not much demand. The demand was already filled, and you've now got a huge supply. When you get to that situation, prices drop. So that is the beginning of this change in what people are paying for puppies, and it's affected everybody who's had a litter. So, and if you look at us, for instance, we had a litter of fluffy carriers here 6 months ago, and we've now got a litter of 5 fluffy carriers that are now, 4 weeks old?
Yeah, and I've got 2 left.
Two left. So sales aren't
bad.
Well, we're going to talk about why sales aren't so bad for us, but they're down in terms of money though. those dogs,
Yes.
they're down by probably, down to 2/3 of what they were to maybe a half of what they were. I mean, if you look at money, I would say that a blue and tan dog pre-COVID was
A regular blue and tan dog.
a regular blue and tan dog. Certainly at the beginning of COVID was an $8,000 dog all day long, and now it might be a $4,000 or $5,000 dog. So you can see, it's basically, almost cut in half. So the question is, where is this headed? What's going to happen? Well, the answer is, first off, it's affected all dog breeds. Some dog breeds more than others because they're popular breeds, like Labradors, Labradoodles, Frenchies. But it's not because people don't like dogs. People love dogs. In fact, there are a lot of people now who have learned that they should have had a dog sooner because they find they're just a wonderful companion. So this is going to rectify itself. It's not like it's a permanent thing that's going to go on. It might take another year before things start coming back the other direction. So there's going to be some, and there's going to be people who are getting desperate to sell dogs as well, which won't help the situation. So this kind of gets to be what you call a race towards the bottom. And especially, I think another thing that's happened is people who thought this were going to be easy found out that it wasn't quite as easy as they thought it was going to be for two reasons, right?
Yeah, they thought they were going to get lots of this. It's like, it takes time, folks.
Yeah, it takes time to develop your game, and also if prices are down, the price you get for your dogs is not what you thought they were going to be, and there's a whole effort that's got to be put into looking after dogs. If you know what dogs are like, if you've got a cat, you can leave for 2 or 3 days and the cats are okay. Put some food and water in. You can't do that for a dog. If you leave a dog for more than a day, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If you leave a litter of puppies that are newborns for more than a few hours, you're in trouble.
You need to have those babies and mama in the house with you.
Right. So what happened? Well, a lot of those people who got into this decided they wanted out of this. And so even more puppies ended up on the market and older dogs. So that's the situation. So I think it'll resolve it. It will resolve itself.
Yeah, I think it will.
It will resolve itself. It's just like things like gas prices. We went from gas prices being, less than $2 to almost $5 in a space of, between COVID and now. So it is going to resolve itself. You just got to, you're either in there for the long haul or you're not. And if you're not in there for the long haul, get out of it. Be done with it. That's as simple as that. Take your lickings and go on about your business.
And
so
keep on ticking.
Yep, that's right. So let's talk about what you can do to make your sales better than Joe average. And the answer to that is you've got to up your game. You've got to learn more about dogs than you knew before you started this process.
You got to know the DNA, through and through. The DNA of the stud, the DNA of your female, the DNA of your puppies. When you have puppies, get that animal genetics, get that tested.
Know what you're selling.
Right.
Know what you're selling and know why you're selling it and how that would be useful to somebody. Be helpful to people.
Right.
Take good pictures, take good videos. Work. You have got to work harder at it. And you've got to
believe some of the breeders that don't do the DNA on puppies. And it's like, you need to do this.
Well,
Don't
it depends on what you're doing. If you're just trying to get out of the market and be done with it, then you're going to sell them cheap and so be it. But look, you've got to up your game, and the way that you up your game is you become better at it. So to become better at it, you've got to be more helpful to your customers. So, Tammy, you get lots of phone calls where you talk to people about stuff and then they don't buy a dog from you, right?
Right.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you provide all that information to any person who ever calls up.
Right.
I mean, certainly sometimes people are looking for really cheap dogs, and your first conversation to them is, I'm sorry, but we don't have cheap dogs, we've got really nice dogs. So we don't, if you're looking for a $2,000 Frenchie, I'm sorry.
Sometimes they get offensive whenever you say, what is your budget?
But it's okay. It's okay to qualify the.
That way I'm not wasting their time and they're not wasting mine.
Yes, and you do that in the nicest possible way.
Right.
You're very good at it, and you don't be rude to people, but you've got to. But the fact of the matter is you don't know who's going to buy a dog from you, so you've got to match up the puppy with the person correctly, so the expectations are correct. And you've got to, one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves is that we don't have cheap puppies. We have puppies that have great structure, have great bloodlines, are socially adjusted when they leave us, and we're here to help you through the entire process for any help you ever need, all the way through till whenever. So there's going to be questions about what's going on and about maybe, you know, the dog got sick or the dog's going to be bred, whatever it is. We're here. Now, some of these people, once they've sold the dog, they're not even going to talk to you anymore. That's not the way to behave. And so you've got to up your game. Better pictures, better knowledge for you, better understanding of what somebody wants, and breed better dogs. If you've got a dog that's not the best quality dog, breed it to a really great quality stud. And you will fix what is wrong in that girl in a lot of the puppies. Not necessarily all of them, but you can do a lot to fix things like long ears, long backs, long tails, long legs, long necks, long noses. You know, in the Frenchie world, long body, a lot of those things can be really helped out by choice of studs. And while we're talking about that, you know, this is what we do. You know, all of our studs are really nice looking, well-structured boys with great personalities. And that's what we have worked towards. So what I'm going to say is up your game and ratchet it up to become better at what you're doing. And if you do that, then I think you'll help differentiate yourself from all the other muddle that's out there that is going cheap. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on price a bit. You know, what you were selling for 2 years ago, it's going to be a different price today. You got to be prepared for that, right? But yeah. So what else are we talk about here, Tammy?
I think you covered it.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk. I was going to mention something else. Now it's completely escaped me. Yeah, well, you could also differentiate your dogs in a litter. You have a litter of 6 dogs. One of them is the nicest and one of them is the least nicest. So you should price those dogs accordingly. Don't just have one price for the whole lot. You can have a starter price that you can advertise. When they ask about dogs, and you can say, well, that's Joe, but I've got Susie over here, and Susie's one of the prettiest dogs that I've produced, and she's a more expensive dog. And then you can show that why, you know, you've got to be able to validate this in terms of why that makes sense. Better DNA, better structure, whatever it is. But you can differentiate your dogs based on within your own litter. You want to differentiate yourself from other people, and you want to differentiate puppies in your litter. And you know, sometimes we're in a situation we've got really a gorgeous dog, and it's a dog that what we're saying to ourselves is, if we don't find a home for this dog that makes sense, we're probably going to keep this dog. And we might keep that dog one of 2 ways: stays in the house with us as one of our pets, or we find somebody who is local that we trust, who would love to have a French Bulldog, but is not going to get the quality of French Bulldog we're talking about. And we basically do, it's not exactly a co-ownership, but it's a partnership where they look after the dog, they look after the puppies, and to do that, they get a certain amount of the proceeds that when it comes time to have the litter, they kind of, they share in the profitability of it. And that can work really well. So, we ramble on for 12 minutes. What else?
That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah, just call me when you need a puppy. I've got 2 left, a boy and a female.
Yes.
A female and a girl. A girl and a boy, sorry. 2 puppies, girl, boy, fluffy carriers.
That does bring me to one other thing, by the way. When you are looking at dogs and you're thinking about this, you know, people ask me a lot, you know, how can I tell what the quality of this dog is? Well, of course, you look at the puppy, but one of the best things that you can do is look at the parents.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But anyway, my phone number is 580-799-1910.
Yeah. So good luck. Don't give up. And if you've had enough of it, then get out of the business. But if you hang in there, it'll all come back around, okay? And you'll be better for it too. And I think that generally, you know, a lot of these not so pretty dogs will be, you know, wheedled out of the whole thing eventually. And anyway. Certainly you'll be able to up your game and produce. And by the way, that's something else. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying, yeah, price the dogs now. And they said, hey, it's a really good time to be buying a dog. They're right about that. There are some really nice dogs out there that are going for, you know, what COVID, you know, would have been crazy price. Well, high, you know, Fluffies, for instance. If you bought a Fluffy at the beginning of COVID or that kind of time frame, you know, a lot of those dogs were $100,000 dogs and higher. Now those dogs can be bought for probably half that amount or less. So, you know, it is really a buying opportunity. If you're looking to go get a really nice dog for what is a considerably lower price than what it would have been a few years ago, now is the time to do that. So I'm not encouraging people to necessarily go out and buy lots of dogs, but the point here is if you're thinking about it, go do some shopping around, but there are some nice dogs out there. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you all.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.